America, North America, Europe, and Asia. So Derris, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much. So I just want to thank you guys for having me today. I appreciate Penn State bringing me out every year. So we'll get started. We're going to have a nice session today. I want to be more interactive today than normal, so I'll bring up some topics to talk about in the on the screen, and then I'll ask you guys some questions and back and forth, and we'll have some banter, hopefully. In a nutshell, I'm going to cover automation and how it's kind of changed the landscape. And you guys, I'm not sure where you're at. You guys are freshmen, sophomores? What grade are you guys in? Seniors. Okay. Totally off. Okay. You need to know your audience. Okay. So my company, my background. In a nutshell, we do different IT services as such. And I partner with a company called DGX. We're trying to grow our companies as these boutique firms providing services to different clients. I came up historically in retail systems, and I've been focusing on healthcare and also focusing on manufacturing clients in the last 5 years strong. For today's agenda, we're going to cover these different types of technologies. I'll bring up to you guys some actual factoids that are out there, some use cases that are out there. I'll bring up some hot jobs in those spaces. You're seniors, so you're looking for a job, I'm sure. For some of you, I'm sure you'll want to actually maybe be more hands-on as a programmer or a developer in some capacities. You may want to be more into management. But at any rate, I'm going to talk about these things, how I've used these things in my past life. I grew up historically as a developer, hands-on technical person. I've been more entrepreneurial for the last 5 years, more management strategic. So automation, you guys all know what it is. You've been going to classes for the last 4 years as seniors. So there are different types out there in the marketplace. And what I want to kind of bring up to you today is that there are different avenues for you to kind of become a specialist going forward. So as you become a specialist in these different disciplines, you may want to take some more coursework beyond where you're at today. You may want to take some certification classes in the future, or you may just decide to go out there and just wing it and just learn on the job. So I'm going to cover these different types of technologies that are out there from automation perspectives. First of all, think about BPM versus RPA. These are two distinct avenues for you guys to take on in your future. Every company on the planet is doing the similar things in their organizations. But you as a consumer, you got similar things already in your household. And I'm going to cover some of those things in a minute. Ultimately, from the retail side, from the commercial side, we're all trying to achieve to be more efficient in our businesses. We're trying to achieve better profits. So in that case, we want to bring in more automation, tools, software, hardware, et cetera, and technologies. But we don't want to leave people behind. Right? So if I can move you from one job in my organization to a different job, perhaps we can use some automation to make your job easier. Think about, 100 years ago where we were at with the, warehouses, factories, mechanical engineering, mechanical automation. That's night and day to what we have today in the world, right? So you guys all have computers, you've got laptops, tablets, you've got smartphones, et cetera. So different types of automation is going to help you achieve these goals you want to have in your business. Here are some more categories of automation, technologies and career paths. You've got machine learning, of course, intelligent automation, hyper automation. You've got low code, no code, and then you've also got intelligent industrial robots. Again, these are all purebred career paths for you to engage. I've had clients of all types, and I'll give you a few examples. I had a client who, they're a manufacturer of beer, global company. They have factories all across the globe in different countries. So their automation strategy is for them to kind of go back and figure out how they're going to duplicate their processes in every single one of their plants. So they're doing that in multiple ways. They've got different types of applications they have in-house that have been homegrown from scratch. They'll also buy off-the-shelf software from major companies like an SAP, a PeopleSoft, if you will. And then they also decided to do more in-house technologies of these. And when I say automation in that regard, I'm referring to like, hey, how do we automate on our sales side, our sales forecasting in regards to how we're going to sell this beer, for example. Or if they're going back to their HR departments, how do we kind of streamline our hiring process, right? We're looking for new graduates of different types of skill sets, people who could be from a college degree path, they could be from a blue-collar industry background, whatever the case might be. How do they streamline that with an automation process of some type? They also had a concern about their distribution, about how they're going to procure their actual elements to make their beer, right? So they're using automation throughout their processes beyond putting that beer into a bottle to a can. They've got to figure out different ways to automate their technologies for their company using computers. So you guys think about the terms AI in everyone's brain and in your mind. You think about, those movies out there, Terminator, they're also going to come and take our jobs away, they're going to destroy us eventually. And that's what we think about from a horror perspective. When I see the word AI, I'm thinking about making my life easier through spoken word. Think about like Tony Stark's in Iron Man. Jarvis, do this, do that. He can take this AI and do all his work for him. He's got robots in his garage making different things happening. So when I hear the word AI, I don't concern myself with a robot taking my job. I'm thinking about the possibilities of my actual life. I'm thinking about from my home perspective, from my work-life perspective. I'm thinking about in society. I met a guy last night at an event in New York City. He has a technology for people who were blind or visually impaired, where it can tell them on their smartwatch, turn left, turn right from hitting their wrist, right? It's going to touch them and tell them turn left, turn right. He had a guy run a New York Marathon with that technology. So he's making their lives easier, right? He can automate that even better through some other AIs, right? I'm in a certain city, it can tell me where I'm going from a GPS perspective. So again, when I think of the word AIs, how is that going to affect me in my everyday life? The second bullet point here is talking about bots, right? If you go like say to your insurance company, you want to get a new policy for your car you're buying next week. And they may say, go to our website or to our app and put in your information. And it's some bot asking you a question. What's your date of birth? What's your name? What's your password? How tall are you? Whatever, it's going to ask you different questions. Back in the day, that was someone's actual job. You got a phone call from customer service, Mr. Boomer, how old are you? You drive how far per month? Yada, yada, yada. Now it's a bot in some application telling me to do this, do that. And they've enabled their businesses to be quicker and faster and take that physical human body and put them somewhere else that's more achievable for their career path. In your everyday life, if you're a Apple person, we have Siri. If you've got Microsoft technology, you've got Cortana and so forth. Well, that's a verbal AI that can help your life be easier and faster. And that just came out like in 2005, that Siri got really, really good. But think about that job path for that job. If you sat there and said, Siri, what's this plus this? It can tell you the answer real quick, right? But if I were to say, Siri, who won the Grammys last night? She might know, but she might not know, right? But there could be someone sitting there on the Apple campus that goes, oh, we can't answer that one. Let me go figure it out real quick. Oh, the answer is blah, 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 blah. That person behind the scenes is behind Siri giving me the answer. But that answer is going to be in a database, right? They're going to collect that information for future reference. And when someone will ask that question again, who won the Grammys last night, it'll know in their database, here goes the answer for that one, right? So my point to you is that we're seeing AI in our everyday life, and they're not all going to be coming to kill us like the Terminator. So we need to embrace them, but again, apply it to a use case in your business, in your everyday life. So if you guys decide to become your own companies in Silicon Valley and create something new for society, how can you use AI to be more impactful? I'll give you another example. So the guy I met last night, he was saying that if you're a person who's vision impaired, you'll have a cane in some cases, and they can walk around town, and they can kind of hear things, and they can kind of see their surroundings from their hearing. What if I was walking down the street and there's an AC out of a window? I'm going like this with my cane, but I may not know there's an AC there, so I'm going to hit it with my head because I don't see it, I don't hear it, you know. So he's saying his AI can tell that person, obstruction ahead, move to the right, right? So that's impactful for every country, for every human being. That's an impactful technology that we can all utilize in some use case, if you will. See if you were like a firefighter and you're in some smoky fire and you cannot see within this blaze in this building. So now I'm impaired visually, right? But if I had a watch that says, oh, turn left to your crew, they're around the corner in this building, it clicks on my wrist to tell me turn left. I don't gotta hear it tell me to turn left. It told me by clicking my wrist, turn left. And I can walk through the fire in the dark because my phone told me, my wrist told me that. I've seen companies in Silicon Valley bring things to market that it seems okay, but they're not gonna really impact society. Like, for example, there's a company that they put on a cooler for you to go to the beach with. It has Wi-Fi and you can charge your phone up. It's not life-shattering, okay. It's Wi-Fi, I'm at the beach. My phone cannot be recharged on my cooler. Okay, it's a patent for it out there in the world. Is it impactful for my life in reality? All I care about is getting my beer cool in my cooler. I don't really care about Wi-Fi. But at any rate, so going back to this conversation here, what can you apply this in the future? So we're just hitting like the smallest piece of this AI, life cycle. Like we just get in there small pieces. So as you guys go about your jobs and your job life, think about how you can apply this going forward. Use cases. How do we use this in real life? How do we apply it where it makes sense? And I'm going to ask you guys a few questions real quick. My first question for you guys, who here are Apple people, Apple devices? How many you get a count? Okay. Everyone else, you're all Androids? Who's a Microsoft person? Microsoft phone? Oh, no. Okay, so I'm saying tablets, like, you got it, okay. Anyone here, BlackBerry people? Okay. Any other devices that are out that's not known to the masses that you're into? Okay. So within your use case for using your device, if you're going to rate yourself on let's say your smartphone, you've got X amount of apps on your phone. If you're going to rate yourself on how smart you are to use that smartphone, are you going to get an A, B, C, or a D grade? Are you really a master of your smartphone? Who's an A level user of your smartphone? No one? B level? Okay. C level? Okay. So why aren't you an A level in the back?
I don't always read every single line of print.
Okay.
Terms and agreement, like sometimes I don't know.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay. And you? Why aren't you an A level?
A level.
On your smartphone, to master it and know how to use it in its entirety.
I don't know if I want to be A level.
Okay.
That requires a lot of time. I feel like you can put elsewhere.
Okay. On your smartphone, you have Siri or Cortana in this case. So do you guys use that every day? Voice enablement? Not.
Sometimes it's just easier to do it yourself.
How about for you? Why not?
Plus, I feel like I automatically go to this type rather than to talk to my phone.
Okay. You in the red? Sorry.
I personally don't really see the need, and even more, I don't know if I feel comfortable like talking to my phone, but
Okay.
I was creeped out by it. So.
Okay. There's a fear factor there. Okay. Young lady here. Why aren't you an A-level user of your smartphone and using voice capabilities?
Maybe there's too many features or functions that I don't know.
Okay.
I also think that there's the chance that your phone misinterprets you, which would take extra time, so you'd have to restate the entire sentence.
Okay.
Whereas if you typed it in, autocorrect might be able to adjust that faster.
Okay. So those are all great reasons, but think about this. Your smartphone, for the most part, if you're an Apple person, it wasn't cheap, right? Like it's $1,000, right? If you're an Android, you're going for a cheaper price point. But you've purchased something that has like the capabilities to put a man on the moon. Like literally the computing power with the net device could put a man on the moon back in 1968, right? So if you were to buy a new car today and your car has voice enablement to use certain features in the car, Do you guys use that at all in the car? Just say the car, do this, turn the radio on, do this, do that? I mean, the same level of complexity for you guys. Anyone? Yes. Okay. Okay. So the car manufacturers, they're out there trying to give you the best way to experience that vehicle and minimize you not keeping your attention on the road, right? So they're giving you voice enablement of an AI, if you will. They could say, turn the radio on, put the heat on 70, go into my appointment book and call my mother. They're giving it to you already in most vehicles that are coming out nowadays. So they're trying to get you to start using that AI every day within your vehicle, right? So you can literally use the car and never ever touch a button in the car. If you open the manual up and you read the manual, it tells you, say this phrase in this way, right? And you can do it. On your smartphone, back to the use case, it's the same thing. If you purchase a Siri or a Cortana, you can tell it what to do, but it has to first learn your voice, right? Say these different phrases to say, but you need to learn how to say it to Cortana the correct way. I must say this first, then that, and I can talk to Cortana, right? So my point is, you guys have in your enablement in your everyday life, you've got some things you can utilize in regards to AIs that you're not using. And in the business world, it's the exact same thing. People are given tools with bells and whistles, but they don't necessarily know how to use them. So we're trying to put people into a way to make their lives easier, but it comes down to three things, I think. It comes down to, is it easy to use, number one? Number two, did I train you how to use it properly? And number three, are we tracking that you're using it, right? If I give you a new app in your company that costs us 85 grand, and it requires voice enablement and AIs in the background with bots, I should be tracking if you're using it or not. If you're not going to use it, we just wasted 85 grand, right? So back to the human element of this conversation. People are needed in two capacities. We create the AIs, we create these technologies, but we also need to go back and kind of beta test them and add more value to them. So going back to you saying, oh, it's probably too hard for me to remember how to say it, or I don't want to because I'm afraid I may, forget what it was. If you're saying it wrong to this, let's say to your phone, they're recording your conversations that you asked the phone, right? And if you're getting it wrong, oh, turn left is an issue for people. Okay, let's use a different phrase and turn left. As you add more and more to that phone being utilized as a user, they're adding their database of knowledge so that AI will be better, right? So if I was saying like to Jarvis, go into program A and create something, well, I need to tell them the actual context of what that is for Jarvis, right? He needs to know what that is in context. So for you guys, for your career paths, how would you want to apply certain technologies? It all goes back to that human element. I'm a human being. Why do I want this? Is it a cool factor to this? Is it going to make my job easier? Am I going to get more money if I use this AI at my company? I'll give you another example. I had a client who, they have a specialized business where they have various manufacturing facilities across the planet, and they have specialized machines to be fixed by people. So if you're a technician for this machine, you can fix this machine and make like $200 an hour. Well, a lot of young people are like, I don't want to work on that machine. It's dirty. I don't want that kind of work. And they can't find anyone to do the job. So the company had to figure out, how do we use some kind of technology to enable new people to want to do this job, first of all. Secondly, we've got people who have a skill set of 20 plus years in their brains that they know how this machine works in and out, how to fix this machine. More importantly, they know every nuance of how to fix it if it were to break again. So they created a database for their employees to kind of put, to download their information about this machine. Okay, after the fourth year of this machine, it's going to break this way. On year 5, it'll break that way. And they've got it all written down in a nice database. And that's great. But when you get a new employee, they say, well, I don't have time to go through 85 pages every day to figure out what's wrong with this damn machine. I want us to be able to know what's wrong with it. So they're applying an AI bot to say, okay, go through the entire system that we have of our database of information, and now as a tech, I can now say, I'm on peg 13, level 5. it'll go into there and give me the answer what I'm looking for. On page 14 in the manual, and I'm trying to fix this cog. And it'll tell them from the AI perspective, oh, do this, try this, do this. So my point is they're using AI to figure out how to make their life easier, right? They're going to apply all this information in the background to an actual user. I can ask a certain question, I'll get an answer back. And the folks who are now in that company for the first time can now go back and say, oh, you know what? I don't mind doing this job now because I'm not by myself reading an 85-page manual. I can literally just go and ask these questions to this bot and give me the answer and knock out this job real quick and fast. Does that make sense? Okay. So I had another use to show you guys. First company, they use a bot and screen scrapers to go out there into the internet all over the planet, and they screen scrape prices of their competitors' data. So if I'm selling the hottest sweater, you know, at Neiman Marcus on their website, they can go and track every Neiman Marcus in every country, and they can screen scrape and say, okay, I know what the prices they had last week on that sweater. And then on their website, they'll go back and update their prices like every hour on the hour. So companies like a Best Buy would be doing that, and Amazon, of course, the guys over in China who are like the Amazons are doing that. So they're using these different technologies to kind of make their lives easier. If you're an airline, retailers, that's their everyday thing. They're using a bot to do that. Now back in like 1996, there was some guy in some back room sitting there going through websites and tagging, I saw the price for so-and-so last week. And it's a catalog of prices because back then they couldn't do it through a bot, right? They were looking to do that kind of a job. Use case number 2. I had a client who, they were an international company. They sold jewelry, and they had about 185, 200 some odd servers across the planet. And they had all kind of issues with Microsoft updates and patch management, all that good stuff. So we bought some software that we could automate to kind of check and analyze different things. So check the server's log, reboot this server, update that server, all those things you do in hardware and the server lifestyle back in the early 90s. We're doing that through this technology, through an automation tool. And the cool part about the tool is that we could make this tool open a text file on some server and read information for us on the fly. If you see this error code, send me an email. You see this error code, send me an email. So pretty soon, after about a year and a half, that automated tool was so good, we would get a call from our tool before we get a call from the help desk, or a call from the control center saying, hey, the server's down. I already knew it an hour ago. How'd you know that? Because my tool told me that. We sat there and we recorded certain things in a script for the tool to go and check things for us across the globe. And it made our lives gold. I could say to someone, oh, you want to see that server tomorrow at 2 o'clock with China on there? Okay, that'll be China, that'll be Korea, that'll be Europe. Okay, I go in my toolbox, push a button and say, okay, make that server China specifications, make that one for Korea, make that one for Europe. I'm going to lunch. I go to lunch, I get an email, done. To my boss, it took 3 hours. It took me 20 minutes, right? So those kind of tools have been around for decades. But again, like you guys were saying, you use your tool on your phone today, most companies don't want to buy it. They're like, oh, I'm not going to buy that, so I'm going to be out of a job. If I get that tool, I can hire 10 more people to do something else in the company, right? I'm being more efficient. I'm being more strategic for my business as a whole. And again, it's been around for decades. I'll give you another example of that. If you're a Mac person, they have a tool called Automator. You know what that is on a Mac? The Automator? You know what it is? Anyone? No? Oh my God, they don't know what Automator is. Who's got a Mac on them today? Anyone has their Mac on them? Look for Automator. It may not be in the latest OS though. Well, at any rate, Automate back when Apple first came out, it's a tool to automate your life on your desktop. So I could say, open my email, read it to me. I could say, email my 5 friends my birthday tomorrow. Automator is a free tool they had in the Mac's OSs as one of their applications. It's been around for decades. You can literally do what I've been saying on that second line with Automator in your business, and it's for free within the Mac. Now, there are other tools out there similar to that. So again, it could be something simple like opening up my email Tell me who called me yesterday. It could be do whatever you want to, but the beauty of the tool is that you could drag and drop whatever you want it to be. Okay, on line 1, I'll do this on line 2, I'll save it, I'll run it at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's a beautiful tool. Next use case. A blogger has an automated tool for doing their posting. So I'm posting stuff in every country, every region for a client, and they just sit there and they kind of plug in the information, they save it, it gets sent out, and they're done. They're off to the races on their own. Next use case, a company gets a low-code or no-code development platform, and lets my non-technical staff update their systems. So think about that. Today in a company, let's say I'm a company like, say if I were like GM, who make cars. And I've got people who are doing all kind of coding. We've got mainframe computers in the system in our company. We have web applications. We've got different kind of mobile apps. I've got developers throughout the entire organization. Some of these people who are on staff, they're actually lifetime car people. They came from manufacturing of cars in the 70s, and they're still here in management. Some folks are developers we just brought in from scratch. If the folks who've been doing this for decades could be told, you know what, use this no-code, low-code tool. You can drag and drop whatever you want to be programmed for you guys, and you can just use it on your own. I could get rid of a bunch of developers in hindsight, but I could enable my non-techie staff to do coding, right? We need a new report that does this. Okay, this new kind of development platform, let's just drag and drop what I want to do. I'm not a scientist mind at all. I just was told, do this, do that. Okay, save this, it's done. That's the future of development for small businesses. And for, again, if you're a giant company like a GM or a Chrysler or whoever, they're trying to figure out how to get more out their staffing. So if I'm getting an MBA student, Penn State or whoever, to come in and work in our company to be more strategic, and you can do 3 different jobs at the same time, I may see the value point of going to do that. Hey, you know what, code development, that's a good win for us, right? So these are things that are happening in the world as we speak, and it's happening day in and day out. Let me ask you another question real quick. Who wants to code when you're done with Penn State? Who wants to be a coder, a developer? One, anyone else? What do you want to code? Okay. Like what kind of technology would you like? Okay. Anyone else? Front end? Everyone's front end? Full stack? Okay. What would be your dream job in the next 5 years?
Working on machine learning systems.
Okay. But what industry would you want to be your first one you don't work for? What industry-wise?
Any industry, any job.
Any industry. So if it's the garbage industry doing waste management, you're going to sign up for it. If you're going to, it doesn't matter. Any company in the planet you're going to say yes to.
If it's like, I guess I don't know, I have to look at the.
Okay. Anyone else? Your first job, you want to work in what industry? Doing what? You said development, front end. What industry?
I'm going to work at IBM.
Oh, excuse me, IBM. Congrats. I'm an ex-IBMer. Yourself?
I'm going to work at a company that does home automation, but I would prefer to do something in the climate.
Okay. But you do hands-on technical development?
Yeah, so I'd be developing web apps for them.
Okay.
That talk to the smartphone tech that they create.
Got you. Okay. You?
I'm doing consulting.
Okay. Development? Nope. Who's the development person? Who's doing development up here? Anyone else? Development? Hands-on? What are you? Yeah. Automotive? Okay. Anyone else? Development? Okay. Who is doing something that's totally off the beaten path from your classmates? You're doing something totally different than what maybe your degree even says. Anyone doing something totally off from your development of your degree? You all aligned to your degree pretty much? Okay, that's good to know. So for the folks who are saying, I'll work for money, it doesn't matter who it is. I'll give you some advice. So I've been around the block a couple of times. So it's great to say to any company, I'll work here and do anything in any department. That sounds good on paper. But what they want to hear is that, oh, I know your company. I use your products and services. Will my parents use your products and services? And when I come here, I want this, or this job. And I want to be here for a while. So when they hear that as an employer, they're hearing, okay, you use us, you know who we are, you know our brand, right? So there's a value point here to us as an organization. You know who we are. Secondly, you're walking into the door saying, you know what you want. I want that burger with that much cheese on it, with that pickle on it, right? You're being very concise, very strategic. Lastly, if you say to them, if I can't get those three, I'll try something else. I'm open, right? So that shows that you're a team player, right? We want these three things, but if you don't get them, you're okay. So if I were you, I would make sure you go to any interview, you're strategic about it. I want these three jobs in this department. I know who the players are in the department. I've done my homework on your company. I know your company, right? That's an informed employee, right? They want to know that you fit the culture. So when you're in an interview process, beyond you having the hardcore skill set, you went to PSU, you took these classes, you're certified in this platform, you do this for front end. Those are great, hardcore skill sets. Great. The soft skill set is, again, you know the company, the branding, and that you're going to bring to the table something. So here's my last piece of advice for you guys for a career path. I'm going to jump off this topic. As you go the course of your career, think about these 4 things, and they don't include money or benefits. So take money and benefits off the table. If you leave any company, you want to ask these 4 questions to yourself. Why am I leaving? Am I leaving because I hate where I'm at? Or am I leaving because I want to find something better for whatever reason I'm looking for better? Whatever better is, that doesn't include the word money and or benefits. All else being equal, right? So that's number 1. Why am I leaving? Number 2, when I get there, who am I going to meet? Who works there already? Is there any value to who works there today? If John's been here for 85 years and Jane's been here for 85 years, what am I going to learn from those two in this example? If I'm not going to learn anything new, why am I going over there? Besides, again, money and benefits are out the table. It's purely why I want to be there. So I said, why am I going? Who am I going to see when I get there? Number 3, my value prop for them. Why should we hire you, Derris? Well, this is why you should hire me, right? I'm bringing some value to your organization. And if I don't bring any value here, why am I here? Here's your number 4 item to think about. Number 4, once I'm there, if it doesn't work out long term, from this current step with them, where can I go from the next step? If I don't see a future beyond them, that there's no value. So say, for example, back in the day, you were a farmer, you did horseshoes, and you decide, I'm tired of doing horseshoes, I'm going to go do spindling yarn. But your buddy goes, oh, you know what, man? They're doing something called cars. So you're doing horseshoes today, maybe you should do tires in the future. Okay, well, horseshoes can lead to tires, right? Makes a logical jump, technology-wise. But again, for your 4th thing, if I leave this company, where would I go in the future? Is it a competitor? Is it someone else in that same work stream? Answer those 4 things for yourself at all times. You'll be good to go. So let me get back to my use cases. So hot jobs. Chatbot developers, conversational AI developers, machine learning engineers, hyper-automation growth leaders, integration and automation engineers, RPA automation people, low-code engineers, low-code, no-code solution architects, and lastly, an AI workflow product analyst. Nice long name, real complicated. But the beauty is these roles are getting bigger in every sector. So you look at the government, you look at private industry, you look at the Fortune 1000, they're all looking for people in some capacity that's going to bring that AI automation component to their business. So if you see a skill set that they don't have today in their company, you can say, hey, look, I've been doing this for 5 years before I came out of school, I got out of college. I can bring it to your company. I have a skill set that's valuable elsewhere, so bringing me to your fold will make your company more profitable, right? So you can bring that to the table to someone who doesn't already have that person in-house. So these are hot jobs that are out there in the marketplace today. So far, you guys have had different classes and stuff, development and non-development classes. In regards to being at PSU, do you feel confident that you're going to get a job for those who don't have a job pretty quickly? You feel pretty confident, everyone? For the most part, you don't feel like you're lost, you're good to go? Okay. So where do you see yourself in 20 years from now? What's your long-term goal I've got the first job, second job, career path. Where are you at in 20 years from today? Yourself. Joe.
I try to live in the moment. I don't, so too far in the future.
Okay. How about you? And your name is Dom.
I don't also 20 years, maybe like 5 or 10. I try to cap it like that. At least for now. Like I feel like when I graduate and like
Okay.
I'm wearing the cap and gown, I might start thinking 20 years. But
Okay, so what are you in what's the,
I have a job right now, so like,
Okay.
I'm hoping I can stay there for the next 5 years until I have to make the next 5 years.
okay, your boss, he's not going to see this video. He won't see it all. Okay. In the back?
Same what you said, so I'm working like in the healthcare industry, so hopefully somewhere down the line I'll be like a manager.
Okay.
in that company.
Okay. And in the back? By the window?
I would want to create something to help people in their everyday lives. I don't know how yet, but it's a
Okay.
future problem.
Okay. Ashad?
Right now, I'm in consulting, I'm a graduate, but in the future, I do want to work under a healthcare company.
Okay.
Possibly developing or maybe like a manager role.
Gotcha. Maybe?
I don't have a job yet, but 20 years from now, I want to be a project manager. I really like, I'm into crypto, so I'd love to work for, my dream would be to work for Kronos.
Okay. Young man? No name, so I don't know what your name is. No name, no code, or something like that.
20 years at least, I hope to be doing something I don't hate and actually wake up and like, hey, it's good work.
Okay. 20 years?
20 years, I hope that I'd be at a place where I can make an impact in my industry.
Okay.
I want to either be a partner in my firm or own my own business.
Okay.
In 20 years, I would at least hope to have my master's degree in some type of like machine learning applications or like data science, and then either be like a lead for like a development team or like manager of a development team.
Yep.
Or like someone that is respected within like in my field, or like at least recognized.
Gotcha. Okay. Lady?
I also want to be a product manager in 10 years, but I don't really have a specific field that I'm heading in.
Okay.
For my own business,
Mm-hmm.
in probably, yeah.
Okay. Did you already?
No, I didn't. I, quite frankly, have no idea. I'm gonna go with it and just say as long as I'm happy, I'm doing it.
Okay.
I have no idea yet, but I hope I figure it out somewhere soon down there.
Okay.
In 20 years, I want to run my own startup incubator in West Africa.
Okay. Which country in West Africa? Oh, okay. Right.
Probably something in machine learning. I like the idea of like doing AI ethics.
Okay. All right. In the back, by the window?
I think I want to work in an incident response handling in healthcare.
Okay. So in 20 years, you'll be doing the same thing in 20 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get into the project management field. Hopefully 20 years down the line, I'll start my own business.
Got you. Nina? Yes.
I'm not really sure yet. Maybe like get a master's and work as a manager or
Okay.
I'm not sure really either. Definitely have some money.
Okay.
Happiness.
Okay.
I guess in 20 years, I'd like to see myself in some sort of a role managing technology for something like a smart city or implementing smart city technology.
Okay.
In 2 years, like, I would hope that, like, I could be, like, retired, have done, made a business and, sell it off and just, go based off of that, like, those earnings. But, yeah, it's something to be, like, have my own business and people working for me.
Okay.
I'm also hoping that I have my own business and not sure like what type yet.
Okay.
I hope I get my job in 10 years.
Okay.
I hope academic that like I can do well work, like doing well on my job, like as long as well. I do not have to take too much stuff down.
Okay. Well, you know, there are no bad answers to that question. And I will tell you from my own experience, if you asked me that, senior Derris, back in my 20s, what was that answer? I probably would have said something like, I just want to be happy, man, and figure it out. Like, that's my goal. I don't know what it's going to be. I'll try something here and there, and I'll just figure it out. I have a sibling. He's much more methodical. So he literally has in a spreadsheet his entire life broken down, every 5-year milestones, like literally. So it's this, grad school, buy a house, get married, 3 kids. He literally has it on a spreadsheet. He checks his spreadsheet every year. Where's he at on his milestones? He's very methodical about what he's doing. And it's not a bad answer to that. If you decide to do that as a spreadsheet as your life and you can go through it, you may start crying some years like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. But at least you've got a milestone to kind of figure out what you want to do in your life. So for me, I didn't have that. I had the idea of, I came from a tribe of people. My family came from blue-collar jobs and left the farm, came to the big city in New Jersey, had nice jobs in corporate America, made it to middle-class status, and that was like their goal and so forth. So I come from that dynamic. So me going to college was just, okay, go to school, get a good job, and figure out everything else. So I knew I wanted to go a certain direction, and I've kind of veered off back and forth. If you would have asked me, again, 24-year-old Derris, are you going to be having your own business, be at PSU as a talker and speaker? No, it was never going to happen. I wanted to just be a worker bee, content with my life, keep my head down low, and that's not me. But what I didn't realize was that I had certain increments of being an entrepreneur, being a hustler. I already had it in me, and it kind of just in baby steps how I got there. So my point to you guys is not, you don't have to have the answer to your life now, but again, don't be afraid if you're going to go that route to that automation AI conversations to, you know, increase your skill set. So I tell all my friends and family members, this life's going to be up and down, valleys and peaks, and you know, and so forth. All those cliches you hear about on TV. But as a person with a background of technology and or business, your best asset is to always have value that's relevant in the current market. What I mean by that, I know a lot of people who've got great degrees from great colleges. They get in their 50s, they're unemployed, and they're lost. They don't know what they're going to do for their next check. They're out here struggling. They have the great grandiose plans, and life turned left, and they're out here struggling. And I tell them, you're only as good as your current, value point, meaning your skill set. Hardcore skills, softcore skills. You've got to update those things on a regular basis. So for you guys, 20 years from now, I'm hoping you're going to still be going to take some more school classes of some type to increase your skill set. In 20 years, that's going to be old, right? This stuff we have today may not be here in 20 years. That might be all being done by robots, who knows? But it may not be here in 20 years. So what are you going to get into now? Think about your future and be a student at all times. So that's pretty much the presentation that I had for today, to kind of go over it, talk about a few use cases. I've got the deck to give you guys of my reference points. Back to AI technology in general. Every company is jumping on this. So I come from the background of consulting. So KPMG, PwC, they're all pushing that for their clientele. The government, NASA, I do automation in my company, IBM over there, and your school. Like, this is a big thing for the future, so don't be afraid to be a part of it as you go forward. And again, keep your skill set tight. So my next thing for you guys, any open questions from anyone? Any comments so far? No one? I see. What do you got?
I don't know how this relates to automation, but like I know as well, for example, like the field like biotech, that's like a big thing these days. Like,
Yep.
For me, like someone studying computer science, how could I go about getting into biotech without like that, like the industry type of background? Like, would you want to like get people, like, would you want to study yourself, like the bio industry, or would you want to hire people that know the bio industry better? Like, how would you like go about?
So I think for you the answer is in 3 parts. So if you're trying to be the hands-on, like say, the expert in biotech as a phrase. And today you don't have that background, correct? So you could either go back, get some more schooling for it, could be like certifications or a class, right? That's one option. You could just go out there and just do it, right? Get a job with some company in biotech, learn the business, learn the landscape of it, and just grind for the next 10, 20 years, and you can get it from, on the job, right? Or you could do a third option. You could align yourself to somebody who has that. Like think about like Apple. You got Steve Jobs, you got Wozniak. Steve's the business guy, the growth dude. He's not coding everything anymore, but Woz is in there knocking it out, right? So Steve and Woz is like Batman and Robin. So in your scenario, are you Batman or are you Robin?
I guess I'll go with that.
Then you got to figure out how you're going to get the skills that makes you an authority within biotech, whatever you're going to be in biotech. Are you going to be like the best finance guy in biotech? Are you going to be the best hands-on? I learned, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm just saying you got to figure out how you want to course that. If you're going to use an analogy, how are you going to cut that apple, right? Again, do I want to be the best guy cutting the apple, or am I the guy that says, yo, you're going to cut the apple because I'm the boss, right? Figure that out for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, you talked about impactful use of technology earlier a little bit, and I was just wondering if you had any input on how we incentivize impactful technology when consumerism tends to drive funding.
So I think of it, I like to do some threes in my conversation. So the government has different policies and things in place for certain technology happening, right? So I live in Jersey. We're big on telecom and pharmaceuticals. So we've got certain programs in New Jersey where if you're a pharma company or a biotech company, we've got certain ways to get you guys into the industry easier, more funding for those things that are out there. So government intervention is one part. The second part of that coin is you've got different charities that are out there, like the Gates Foundation. They fund people, right? So if you're looking at money, funding for whatever you're into, you go government, you go private industry, or you go Silicon Valley, yada, yada, yada. But I think government, a lot of times, that's your first path, right? Figure out what's happening in three capacities: federal government funding, local, state, and then by county. Certain counties will fund things because they're trying to keep those companies in their county. So back to where I live in New Jersey, we've got pharmaceutical companies, we've got telecom companies. They're bringing in certain tax dollars through our counties, right? So they don't want to lose those companies. So they may say, we'll fund some stuff for some startups that are out there to keep you guys in our county for those tax dollars, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Anyone else?
You mentioned that you work in the consulting industry. What certifications have you earned to help you make it?
Great question. So I used to work for Accenture for about 2 years in the last decade. So before I got to Accenture, I had a skill set already before I got there. And my skill set was human capital management software, like HR software, payroll software, ERP software is my background. So I already had that skill set before I got there. Once I got in the actual company, I got a certification in a software called Workday software. So I've aligned myself with my company, for my business, and my expertise for me is I'm aligned to HR, payroll, and ERP platforms. So I stay in that space. I stay on the top tier. So it's the SAPs, the PeopleSofts, the Oracles. I'm aligned to that, right? So I'm going to do this in two parts. Certifications, most times, are very quick to get them. They're fast. It's not a 4-year engagement to do like a degree. So I highly encourage you to get a certification across the board, whatever you're into. So it's front end, whatever you're into, get your cert. I align myself with value in 3 parts. I'm aligned to a software package, right? Number one, I'm certified in that package. I'm aligned also in an industry. So I focus on retail clients, healthcare, and manufacturing. So in the last 10 years, I've done more of those client jobs than any other industry I've worked on. I've worked on like telecom, I've done fintech, I've done government, but I've done the most in healthcare, retail, and manufacturing. So that's my skill set of an alignment. So he's got this software packages, he has this industry focus, and then I have the background from like project management, PMO stuff, and technology as a company, meaning I know how to enable tech with your processes. So on my company website, I say 3 things. My company does the following. We bring in people, process, and technology equals your dreams come true. So number one, the right people. I need to know who am I going to hire, if they're the right fit for the job. But more importantly, I need to know your process. If we're doing HR processes, I need to know that, right? I need to know the people within the process. And then lastly, I can tell the client, use this tech for that process and for these people. So the first two of that equation, people and process, that's number one for the equation. Technology is the last part of the equation. It doesn't matter what I choose, SAP, PeopleSoft, whatever. I don't care what the tech is. I care about the people in the process and getting it right. And once I know what that is, I can now tell the client, use that tech, and we go. Does that make sense? Is that the answer? Okay. Anyone else?
So you said that
I'll get you.
whenever you were beforehand, you would align yourself with certain companies, certain areas of work and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing, would you say that in order to make it higher up, in the food chain, I guess, you need to specialize in that? And then if that is true, is there any benefit from branching out to new sectors? Once you're already an expert, or once you're not an expert, but once you're already pretty well aligned with that, would you stick with just that alignment?
You can go either way. So for me, when I became my own company, I had a job working at retail for years. I loved this job. Didn't get a certain job I want in the company, got mad, and said, I'm out of here. So I decided to do my own company. So in my mind, I'm going to be a small IBM. You can't be a small IBM. They're too wide, they're too broad, right? I can't. So someone says you need to focus on a certain discipline, keep the focus. So when I see a client for my elevator pitch, I can say, I do this, this, and this. I always say, use 3s and 5s. More than 5 things, it loses them, right? I do things really good, and I can talk to people really fast about that in an elevator. So again, being focused to that and mastering that first is fine. Now, once I've mastered that, I can go on to the next thing. So I think young people in general, I'm not trying to say this nicely. It's not just this, it's anyone who's young. You want to conquer the ocean in the first gulp. I'm taking a bucket of water up the ocean. You can't take the whole ocean on at one. I've got to do it in pieces, right? So I think you should master something, then do the next one. So if I were me telling you what to do, I would say, master something first, 3 to 5 years, go to the next one, then the next one. But there's no bad answer for you. You can decide how you're going to do it for you. My path is not going to be your path, right? So maybe you could do 18 things really, really well, but I can't. I got to focus myself on these things that I do really, really well and knock out the box. But we're all different. Does that make sense? Yeah, one in the back.
Yeah, this is a question from online. Are there any skills, technology, programming language that you've seen come up recently, or is it generally important that we should learn or know now?
There were a bunch, especially when I went back to the previous page of the hot jobs. Let me just show you. These are the hot jobs as far as job titles, but I think anything that you're doing technically inclined in these disciplines of AI or machine learning and so forth, I think they're all valuable. So I can't say the holy grail is to say, take the job called machine learning engineer over all of it. You pick what you like to do and you knock it out the box for a few years. If you decide, I didn't like doing machine learning engineer, you pivot to something different on your own, right? But I think they're all going to be good for you for the next 5 to 10 year span. Now, I could be wrong. In 10 years, they may say that job is gone. I don't know. I assume it's going to be here in 10 years, but it may not. I don't know. I hope that answers the question for the person. There is no holy grail for you guys to follow that path. I can tell you a few things from your breadcrumbs, and you follow your own path.
You mentioned a lot about job automation and artificial intelligence. Is there any core competencies that you kind of see across the board are lacking in companies that can be done from implementing automation and artificial intelligence?
One thing is price point. I think the other part is sometimes techies, we have a hard time to explain to people who aren't techies a business case, a use case, right? If our company does this, if we do A, B, and C, we'll get D. And if you can't explain that to a company head, a VP, or to who's going to fund your startup, if I can't explain it to you in 8th grade terms, I'm not going to get the win. I'm not going to get the yes. So in your job, no matter what you're doing in life, it's great to be Wozniak, but at some point, you got to be Steve. You got to be able to speak it, talk it, and show the value to people. Think about Steve Jobs. If he told someone, 25 years ago, I'm going to put all your songs on one device. Huh? You're going to put all my records on a device? That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. But he saw the vision of that, right? So he had to be able to explain to somebody, it's not here yet, but in baby steps, I'm going to put all your songs on a device, right? So you've got to be able to do both sides of that. Be the business side of your company and the techie person on top of that. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyone else? You guys are too quiet. Come on, wake up. It's after lunch already. I'm hyped up already. Come on, let's go. Give me some more. That's it? Oh, I love this one. So I love consulting. I wish I had known what a Deloitte was or a EY or any of these back when I was like out of college. So real quick, if you're like on the fence of, I don't quite know what I want to do in life. I don't know if it be this company, this industry. I would say go get you a job at one of these big companies. And here goes your 3 value points. It's life-shattering. These companies will hire you to work for them, and they'll send you in your suitcase to clients all over the globe. And they're paying for every meal when you're on site, your rental car, your hotel, and you're getting on-the-job training to do what you love, and you go home every once in a blue moon. But they're going to send you across the planet on their dime, and you're going to do your work in anywhere. You could be in France, Japan, anywhere. You're traveling the globe. And the beauty is, they've got so many clients to be fulfilled, you can just keep on changing up another client this month, another client next. You can change up, So my point to you guys is that if you don't know what you want to do in life, these companies like this can give you some hands-on knowledge and practice, but more so help you figure out your path. I like, let's say, fintech. So I'll go work for a few fintech companies with these guys, figure out what I like. Okay, I don't like that, don't do it again. I don't like that, don't do it again. I like this one. So again, they're going to pay you to travel the globe. Can you beat that? You can't beat that with a baseball bat. They're going to pay you week upon week to travel somewhere. Here's one last thing they don't tell you about in the pitch to hire them, to be hired. If you're on the road from Monday through Thursday, anywhere in the U.S., you're flying somewhere every week, right, for a year. So I'm not home for those days. My rent money for my apartment, I still have my apartment, right, but I'm eating and drinking whatever on their dime. So my paycheck's paying for my rent and my car if I have a car, but I'm only going to be home on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So my utility's going to be down low, right? So I'm banking up money like crazy because I'm never going to be home. But here's the beauty, though. You get your frequent flyer miles, platinum status. You get your hotel point, platinum status. Rental car, platinum status. Now I can fly for free anywhere, right? But here's the kicker. If I'm going to a client every week, just say to LA from here, every week for a year, I can tell my boss one day, you know what? I'm going to go down to New Orleans this weekend instead for the same airfare to go back and forth. Okay, it's approved. I'll go down to New Orleans, free hotel, rental car. How do you beat that? You can't beat that. You're stacking up money at home and living home with your parents without paying no rent. You're never going to be home anyway, and you're getting more job training. I wish I had that job when I was in my 20s. I got it in my 40s. So, but anyway, does that make any sense? Did I answer your question? Does it sound good now?
So what advice can you give them that? I mean, other than don't get a job, right?
Well, the good part about it, so when you're at these kind of companies, and I know all the big ones and people who work there, when you go there, they have a portal for you to look for a job in their system. So you can say, oh, I want to find me a job doing AI for these industries. And they'll show you open jobs that they have with these clients. So if you as a new employee at the company, you got to do 2 things really, really well. You've got to get on your first project and knock it out the box and be the best guy in that project or lady in that project. And once you've got now an actual name in the company, oh, we hired him last year, he's been great. You got to expand your network of people within the company. But then you got to keep finding more and more projects. So you got to constantly be like trying to network with people, be an asset to somebody. So for you, when you get to do it the first year, go out there and just meet mad people in your organization and make the client really, really happy. If you do those two things, you'll go up really, really fast. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So, okay. Someone else?
So you said about like networking with people in your company.
Mm-hmm.
I guess how would you go about that per se? Like, would you just like try to like introduce yourself to them, or like how would you like make an impression on what's outside of your job area?
Sure, it's a good question. I do it in 3 different ways. So number one, I would look and see, let's say I want to figure out who you are. So in the company's profile, I'll see, oh, you went to PSU. You'll have some things about who you are. I have a dog, this, that, and that. So I'll figure out how we things are in common. Oh, I like football. I'm a Giants fan. Yeah, I know I'm in P8. I'm a Giants fan. So whatever I could get to get it in with you, I'm going to figure out what the in would be. Hey, let's have a coffee one day and just talk to you. And I'm going to say to you, hey, how can I help you in the future, right? I'm not asking for me to help. I'm asking how can I help you. So again, camaraderie, how do I figure out how to get to you, have a coffee with you, and be genuine about it, right? And, don't ask for anything for the first couple of times.
So that's amazing, but how did you keep track of that
Okay.
in a way that was discreet?
Mm-hmm.
So trying to coach them to curate their experiences,
Got you.
so the yeses and the nos with different people of topics of.
Okay. So the cheat sheet of that would be the following. So I use Outlook. I use LinkedIn. I also use in my Outlook, you can put people's notes on their profile. So I can say, oh, I met Derris at McDonald's. We had coffee at, So you can keep a note on that person's profile in your Outlook, for example, or your Gmail, whatever you're using for your contacts. So you can do that to be more hands-on. I got some notes on that person. But for me, I pick and choose my people not at random. Like, I'm more strategic about who I want to align with for certain things. But then if I meet anybody in passing, like I'll give you an example, business card. I pass out like at least in a non-COVID year about 250 of these every year, anywhere I go. I'm at Starbucks. I don't know who you know, right? So I pass these out like clockwork. So for me, that's building my network. And on LinkedIn, I do different things on LinkedIn on a regular basis for my network of people. But I would just do that, write a bit about that person, but kind of be strategic about who you want to align yourself with and keep track of that person in their life and how you're going to interact with that person. Does that make sense? But I try to be genuine about it. Like, I'm not like I'm checking off. I talked to you for 5 minutes today. I'm done. Like, I'm not that person, but it wasn't hurt for you to say, we had lunch last week, whatever the case might be about it. Does that make sense, what I said?
I feel like the first thing is like, hey, how is your son? Right? So there's little details
Right.
that you recognize you're listening, right?
Yeah, but that's your regular communications, because when you're face to face, I'm just saying as far as tracking that person and the conversation wise, what do we have in commonalities to each other in some capacity? Like, I use sports a lot for people. If you're a non-sport person, I have to figure out what you're into. I'm into Star Wars. I'm into this. So figure out that person's likes and dislikes and make sure you're on the like side. Like, if they don't like certain things, maybe you don't bring that up in conversation, right? So I think of it that way, like a natural occurrence of a conversation with somebody. I don't try to change up who I am to adapt. Oh yeah, I like Star Trek too. No, that's not what I'm about. That's not what I'm about. But I try to be genuine to who I am and figure out how we've got things in common. Again, it's colleges, sport events, movies, whatever that you think they may be into. So when you go to a company like an Accenture, they'll say put on your profile who you are, your bio. Then they'll say give us something about you about who you are. So I'll say like, I'm a Giants fan. Give me something you did in the past. I've been out of the country to Egypt. I've done it. Whatever I've done, I'll put that in my profile. And you can use that to your advantage in the future for someone else. Oh, I see you went to Egypt last year. You know what I'm saying? You can use that in the conversation piece. Anyone else? Yes.
How do you figure out when it's time to move on to the next job or position so you don't stay stagnant?
So let me think about this. So I'm not going to ever say the word money and benefits. So let's keep that off the table. If you're mad about money, you look for money, right? And it's easy conversation, right? So culture in your everyday job. So you only leave a job if you're mad, something happened, you got mad about it, right? Like if you're here at this job today, beyond money and your benefits, and you walk in the door every day and you're happy to be here, you like all your coworkers, why would you leave? Again, money's out the door. So in the past for me, if I'm not content and happy in this building every day of the week for the most part, I got to get out of here. Again, not counting money and benefits. And that's how you know. If I'm not happy to be here and I'm stressed out, and I'll give you an example. I worked for IBM and I got laid off, and I was so happy to be laid off because I hated the job. I was so stressed out. I was having issues like my lips were peeling really bad and my skin was really bad. And someone said, dude, leave your job. You hate this job. And I was like, I can't. I just got here. I've been here for 2 years. So I'm a manager. And then we had a layoff in like 1990 something. And the day I got laid off, I was like, I'm so happy. I was ecstatic that I got laid off. Like, 'cause I hated this job to no compare. But I just knew, I wasn't in a happy state, and that's your answer for you. But again, money, I don't leave for money. I leave because I don't like being here. We all want money, and you're going to get your money no matter what in life. But don't use that as the reason why I'm leaving, because you're going to go here and there for money. So be more about, I'm happy, content. Again, what am I going to learn from here? Who am I going to interact with? And add value here. If I don't feel like I'm valued here, I don't want to be here. I think that's for me. And you're different. Maybe you have a different value point than what you want to have for you. Does that make sense? Okay.
Do you have any advice for maintaining work-life balance?
That's a hard one. I can give you some tools to try to use, but everyone's different. So when you're single, you don't have any kids and a mortgage, there's no work-life balance because you're working like crazy to have that career trajectory you want to get to. But when you have kids and soccer games, that makes that balance really, really hard. You can't make both sides happy, right? I can't make my kids happy, my spouse happy, and my boss happy at the same time. One day they'll be happy, the next one will be happy, so it's a balance to it. So the only thing I can tell you is that prepare yourself when you're ready to have children and have that balance, family balance. Prepare yourself financially so that if you can't get that promotion because you're not going to be here working 80 hours a week, be prepared how that will impact your family. If I get the promotion next month, I'm going to be okay. If you're okay with that, then you're okay. But you know what I'm saying? You got to figure out your lifestyle, meaning that if you know that making 80 grand a year is good for you and you're happy and content in your life, that's where you're at with it. But if you're saying to yourself, no, I need 180 grand, you got to figure out that balance on that side of the coin. But I would just say be very vocal to your family members and your family and your spouse if you're married, how to figure that balance out for all of you. Does that make sense? And it's a hard one. There is no right answer for that one. But again, you can't make your boss, your spouse, and your kids happy at the same time. It's like impossible. It just is. I don't have an answer for it.
I'm a sophomore in college, so looking back after all of the experiences, if you were in my position, what would you say, you were or another type of question is if you could go back, what would you do, with everything that you know, what would you do differently, what would you recommend, if I were to walk out of this meeting, what's would be your on your to-do list of things that you do?
So I come from the background where I'm I'm an adventurer, and I like to travel the globe looking for adventure, literally. So I'm into new surroundings. And my point is that I'm not afraid of the future, meaning what's around the corner here, I'm not afraid of what that's going to be. I don't go to see my future with a palm reader. I don't want it in the future. I'll make it happen. So to answer your question, I would say 3 things. When you leave this room today, you should make sure you're always a student in life, no matter what it might be. Whether it be job-related, personally, spiritually, you're a student, and you're trying to elevate yourself to the next level. Number 2, I would say that you should be sociable and respectful to people. And if you can be sociable and respectful to people, your name and your brand will succeed you before you walk into the room. They'll know you because you came from a background of respect and they know who you are. If you do good work, your name is solid. If you do bad work, your name is garbage and everyone knows who you are before you got there. So keep yourself in check that I want to have my background, my branding be I provide good work and value and I'm a good person, how I see to be a good person. I'm not a jerk by nature. We all have a bad day, but I keep my brand that he's a solid individual in the job and off the job. That's how I live my life. The last thing, I would just say, when you guys leave PSU, you come back and you contribute to your community. Whether that be your local community, your school community, your church community, whatever you're in as a tribe, you go back and provide value to that tribe. Giving a check is nice for charities, but giving your time is better. So let's say at some point when you're tishing that carrot for the next whatever dollar, you go back to your community and provide value to those behind you. So the kids who are out now in third grade who want to see you in 10 years, give them some time. Those kids who are 18 in your high school right now, give them some of your time in the future about your path and how you got here, right? I think you could do those 3 things, you'd be good in life. Does that make sense? And again, you have to figure out if it makes sense to you 100% or not. Anyone else? You guys are quiet. How are we doing for time? I've got 4 minutes, okay. Anyone else? Open questions, comments, concerns? Any good jokes, sporting analogies?
So you talked about a lot about automation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you asked us about like whether or not we use like Siri or like Google Assistant or Cortana in our daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing like do you take advantage of that in your daily life? Or, like, you
I do. Yeah, so I try to do more and more with my smartphone and the voice enablement stuff for certain. I'm getting better with it as we speak. In my vehicles, I try to use them more as a process. I've used a bunch of tools in my job on a regular basis for that, from my job perspective. So yeah, I do try to be better with it, but I'm like you guys, I use maybe, if I'm gonna screw my smartphone, I'm like maybe a CB at most. Because the smartphone's got a lot happening in a smartphone. Like I think in my apps, I may have 25 apps. I only use about 5 every day. So, I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then I guess why would you say that a lot of people, like it seems like a lot of people in this class here have a hard time transitioning to that, like at least on a personal level for smartphones. Do you have an idea of why that might be?
I think it's easy to use. Kind of something. It's not that easy to you guys. It's sometimes it makes a mistake too much for you guys. You guys are prone to this. You're used to that. It's in your culture, who you are in your generation of people. That's how you grew up. And I kind of grew up before that, where we were more click Windows 95 people. So I'm not really that person. So I'm more like looking for an easier path for me to get something out of this, because I hate this. I'm getting killed. So I think the people behind you guys who are growing up today, that they're going to probably be more interested because they grew up on, hey Siri, give me some milk out of the refrigerator. Like they're going to be used to that more often than you are. So this is it's a generational thing about how you came into the game from the beginning, for the most part.
Once you left consulting, how did you put like that experience to use instead of just like throwing it out?
I took and picked certain things of value from wherever I came in the past. So on my bio it says, I've been working for Fortune 500 company since I was 16. So my first job was being at McDonald's. And it's a Fortune 500 company. So I took from that company that the value point that they have a system of how to make burgers and fries, right? They've got a system that they put in a manual and it's successful across the globe. So for me, I've taken every past job, pieces of what they've given me as an individual, and put it into my business. And I've used it, day in and day out. So sometimes as you mature yourself in life, you'll come back to certain things of a lesson you learned in the past, but that lesson may not come to fruition until a decade later. It'll hit you like, oh my God, that came from so-and-so. That came from this. That came from grandma, right? Certain things will hit you later on as you get older. So for me, that's how I kind of did my business. I decided I've got a skill set. I'm valuable in the marketplace. I did some actual, background checks of what's happening in the marketplace for myself and decided I'm going to do it. If you decide to do that in your future for yourself, all I can tell you is that you can read all the books you want to, you can do all the background checking and whatever, but at some point, you got to jump off the cliff with no parachute. And it's not pretty. You may crash and burn, but until you do it, you can put it in a book, but so much put it in a book. You got to just go out here and just knock it out. And the beauty for you guys, you're young, so you can fail quick, fail fast, and then do something different. So, hey, thank you for your time today. I'm Derris Boomer. If you want to talk to me in the future for contact, here's my info. Here's my quote from the past here, being at PSU. And my quote is, figure out who you are and try it out. You have to follow your path. Again, my path is not your path. You create your own path. You can take my background to what I've done and use it to some degree, but you will find your path for you. And that's how it's going to work. So, you guys enjoy. You have a good day.